Hi, today I am interviewing Nabra. And I'm gonna ask you some questions about feminism.
Okay.
So the first one is, are you a feminist?
I would say yeah.
Okay.
Why? I just really believe that feminism is the idea of like equal rights. So I don't want to overcomplicate it. I think a lot of people do, and I think there's so much like misconception around what feminism means and like what people think feminism is. So I feel like it's just like we want to be treated the same way, equal to men, and also like I think I specifically identify with being like an intersectional feminism. Like I think in the general idea of it, it's like yes, feminism, and I do identify as a feminist. But sometimes I feel like I have to specify intersectional feminist because I feel like sometimes people think feminism, and it, like unfortunately in like the larger scheme of things, sometimes feminism does include like other marginalized communities and like is very like white oriented. So I specifically always like kind of like I'm an intersectional feminist, but hopefully like people become more educated and like white feminists understand that like there's more to feminism than just like women as a gender, but it's also like the intersecting parts of like someone's identity that makes them that you have to think about as a feminist that actually makes you like a feminist by standard. But yeah, I do identify as a feminist.
So, okay. Can I ask you, was there like a situation or moment where you realized like, oh yeah, I'm a feminist? Like, it kind of clicked.
I don't really know if there was like a moment where it like really clicked for me. I probably started to actually really understand the term and learn about the term maybe like end of high school, beginning of university, where I was like, oh, this isn't a word. I think I was always a feminist, like by nature, but I don't think I ever really put the term to use or really knew that that was a thing, like a particular term, until like later on when I started kind of studying it and seeing it more. I think popular culture has a really big influence on myself. So I think once I started seeing it more in like popular culture, I kind of like, okay, I do identify as a feminist, like align with the values of it. Yeah.
Okay. You kind of said how long you've been a feminist for since the end of high school, so that'll be like 3.5 years.
Yeah.
4 years. Okay, cool. What exactly does feminism mean to you? Like, how would you explain your personal definition of feminism?
Again, it's just like the idea of like equal, being treated as an equal, like being respected and being respected for the things you do, not because solely based off your like your identity, and people not diminishing your value because of your gender, your race, your religion, or any other like intersecting factor. For me, those are kind of the main things, but I know for other people, there's other things that also, your class, or kind of your sexual orientation, all these things affect the way you're going to be treated. So feminism to me, and in my sense of it, is the idea of being treated as an equal and um, being respected for who I am as an individual and my character, rather than someone just looking at me and being like, oh, you're a woman, so you can't do XYZ.
Right, but what makes you a feminist? Like, is there anything that you do that you feel like, oh, I'm a feminist, or?
I don't think I'm like, oh, like, I think I'm open about and like completely comfortable with calling myself a feminist. But I don't think there's anything in particular that I do that's like over, like, that I'm like out there like attending rallies and stuff like that, like women's march or stuff like that. I support the women's march. I think there's like parts of it that are can sometimes be problematic in terms of the way certain individuals approach the women's march, and it all draws back to like not really including like intersecting different people into these like women's marches. Very still like everyone's just following white ideals of what femininity is and what feminism is specifically. So I think, but in general, I think the way I kind of do things and kind of the way I approach all my things in terms of like diversity and inclusion is kind of just if I'm working on something and I have the ability to include other people in it, then I'm like, yeah, I want to see more women on the team. Yeah, I want to see more people of color on the team or women of color on the team. So that's kind of how I use feminism in a way to um, like push my values and push what I'd like to see in the world in kind of like a more subtle and less like overt way. But it's kind of embedded into who I am. So yeah, I think it's just doing like certain things. Like I love working on teams with all women because I think there's just something really special about being able to surround yourself with other women who are super supportive. So I think in the choices I make, that's how I assert my feminism. Yeah.
Right. So in a way, it's like you're offering equal opportunity to everyone
Exactly.
to be included.
Yeah.
That's right. That's great. I know you said this already. It's what you want others to know about feminism, and it was to let people know that there's an intersectionalism definition and it should be an aspect of feminism.
Yeah.
It makes me think of your capstone project. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because that's a very great way to.
Sure. I mean, like, my capstone project is specifically about Black identity, Black female identity specifically, and makeup and the makeup industry. I just felt like Black women were at the center of a lot of movements, a lot of narratives that like progress society, especially in Western society, but even in like other societies. And I felt like they were really being pushed out of the narrative and are often not credited for the work they do. But if you look at so many movements, they're at the forefront of them. But yet they're treated like the bottom of the barrel, like no one wants to be a Black woman, but like everybody wants to profit off of the things Black women have made. And in previous years, that's kind of how I felt about like feminism in general. I just felt like it didn't include Black women, it didn't include marginalized people, because it was so geared towards like one type of view. Yeah, so my project is about highlighting Black women who have been misrepresented and kind of getting stories on them and about how they feel about the representation, how they use beauty or makeup or hair, which was like a huge topic, to empower them and to move forward in like society. Yeah.
You taught me something in class that I didn't realize during last semester. It was that there was less accessibility, to the beauty products for Black women. I didn't know that. Thank you for informing me. Because I think everyone's like in their own bubble and I was complaining like, why is there no yellow undertones? But you show me like, oh, and there's so way less darker tones as well. So just even that alone is like, we're expected to look a certain way, and then yet when we need to meet that standard, it's less accessible for people in minority. It's very interesting. What do you want others to know about feminists?
I think people have a very perceived notion of how feminists look like and who they are. Like the person next to you could be a feminist. Also, feminists don't have to just be like women. They don't have to identify as women. Like your dad could be a feminist, and you should push, especially young males, like young kids, to be feminists and to have those ideas in mind because it'll only benefit them in the future if they do. And it will help diminish and disassemble or deconstruct the notions that women have to be in certain roles to be successful or have to be a certain way. So yeah, I probably want to I really want to deconstruct who the face of feminism is because there can be way different ones and stop looking at Taylor Swift to be the face of your feminism because I don't think Taylor Swift is cool. Like if you like her, that's great. And if your feminism aligns with hers, cool. But I think there's other people you can look to that maybe are a better fit, who like are a little bit more conclusive in the way they go about feminism.
Okay. What is it about the Taylor Swift that you feel is not inclusive?
I feel like she just I don't know, everything about the way what she does, the way she spins things, or even like my biggest thing is with some of these feminist movements is when women or like certain individuals try to stop having productive conversations for the sake of saying you can't say that, it's not feminist. So for example, like I think there was like a huge thing with like Nicki Minaj, and she was kind of drawing attention to the fact that Black women or like marginalized people, Black people in the industry, you know, created, for example, hip hop, I think it was, and are should be credited with the proper, you know, ways. Like should be credited for the work they've done in the past. And then Taylor Swift, I guess, like kind of like tweeted back to her saying, "Oh, we should all be, you know, just supportive of each other. Why are we criticizing each other?" And I think that is so detrimental to conversations and to progressing ourselves in society because it's just like that's not helping. You can't use this particular situation to like jump off for your own personal gain.
Yeah.
Because that means you didn't listen to the conversation she was having at hand, and you as a white woman should be able to process the fact that it's not about you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if your feminism doesn't include other women who aren't white or other people who aren't white, then you're not being progressive at all because you're just looking for yourself and like your other friend. Whereas if you are actually caring about everybody and want to see society progress as a whole, then you would be able to have these conversations without interjecting your own feelings into that. I don't know how, like, and Taylor Swift is just like an easy example because she's so in the public, but I see this all the time in like in media, in my own school, in my own program. It's just sometimes I think people need to be a little bit more aware and just gain a little bit more empathy because sometimes on these things it seems like it's just like, oh, personal gain, like just me.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you really cared, you'd be able to one, pass the mic over to someone else and to someone who you can't speak on that subject matter, so you're gonna let them speak on it. And two, like just not take it personally because if you don't know, you don't know. And if it's not your life, then just let other people speak on it.
Yeah.
And then try to understand and learn and educate yourself rather than just sit and wallow in your own kind of like, oh, like my opinion's the best opinion. Like, why is everybody so mad at me all the time?
Yeah. So it sounds like those people, if the issue does not affect them, they don't think it really exists.
Yeah.
And that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
Are there any specific feminist causes you care about? If so, what are they?
I would probably like the gender wage gap as well is like a huge one. I'd like to be paid as much as like my male counterparts who, to be honest, I think we probably do a better job. So like, and I see it all the time, it's just kind of like they get by and then you're like, but I'm putting in more work. So as much as I want to see that, I also want to see like the closing in the gap for like other marginalized people, women of color, like just more marginal people, like the gap should be equal amongst all. So not just like male and female, but also thinking about all the other factors because we know for a fact that like white women get paid more than, you know, Hispanic women or Black women or whatever, Asian women. So it's like closing that gap up more as well. And just like, I think the wage gap is a big one.
Yeah, I agree. It's so hard because there's evidence out there that there isn't a wage gap, like the economists say, and they could angle it that way, but also I see it as people just getting less job opportunities because of their gender, race, or their sexual orientation. So if they're getting less job opportunities, how could we make their wages, you know, the opportunity for better wages for them, you know what I mean? It reminds me of this conversation last week with people who are lovely people, I just don't think they understand feminism. and they blame feminism for why women have to work because they don't want to work. And I said, that's not fair because there's already unequal salaries between races.
Yeah.
So how can people who are not white help their family raise their income when their wife or the woman in the family can't work?
Yeah. I think that's like a huge thing as well, and like we see it all the time. Like for example, with like conversations around like Muslim women, are they oppressed? Are they not oppressed? Like people love to interject their opinions on this, and I just see it way too often where it's like they are, and I'm like, are you part of this community? Do you know? And it's not about do they want to, or do they want, or can they work, or do they want to work? It's about choice.
Yeah.
So yeah, everything that is stemming around, and I think that's maybe a huge thing that feminism, like people should understand about feminism, is feminism fights for the opportunity for you to be able to make the choice.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to have children? Do you not want to have children? Do you want to work, or do you want to like take over an empire? Like, do you want to stay at home and have just children and be a housewife? Like that's cool. Like no one's saying you staying home doesn't mean that you're not a feminist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's what I mean. Like feminism comes in all forms.
Yeah.
But it's about having the ability to choose whether you want to or not.
Yeah. Do you personally like to use fashion to represent your identity?
I think so. Not in like an overt way though. Like
Okay.
I do, yeah.
Like in a subtle way?
Yeah, subtle ways. Like it might not be like a shirt that says like feminist. If it says something, for example, I'm gonna throw in Beyonce because I love her.
Yeah.
But like Beyonce has like a shirt that I have. It says "Boycott Beyonce," and it's like this like very like self-deprecating like just like stance against people who didn't like her Lemonade album or like criticized her Lemonade album for like her personal views on the world and how she addressed feminism and identity and all those things. So I like stuff like that kind of like are playful and kind of fight the norm, but it's not. It's kind of like a conversation starter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So would you mind designing a t-shirt with me to represent your feminist identity? And it doesn't have to say feminist, it can imply the feminist values and message. Yeah. So Nabra is she wants to draw the silhouette of Solange because she's your idol or something.
Yeah. I just feel like Solange is really good at she's a very good example of someone who like is vocal about feminism and about Black feminism and is like very unapologetic about herself. Like she doesn't conform. I feel like she doesn't really like code switch just to please people. Like she does things and it's very, I don't care if you like me, like it's not for you. And like she made a whole song about it being like for us by us. Like she doesn't care, and she's very good at like making sure that her fans know that she doesn't give a fuck.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Nabra times the brand is called Sisters, so sisterhood, but anyone can join really.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Solange. Thanks, Nabra.
You're welcome.